From the age of 17 until the age of 37, I didn't stop abusing drugs. I covered the gambit: cocaine, methamphetamine, heroin. I was one of those addicts. What do you have, and do you have more? My name is Tim. I'm from Kansas City, Missouri. So I lived in a house as a child with my father who abused alcohol. My mother was very strong in her work ethic. My dad was an officer in the Air Force. Um, so a very strict, very rule-oriented person. But when he drank, he became a whole different being. Very abusive, verbally, sometimes physically, but more often verbally, just tearing me down emotionally. And I think that's where a lot of my self-doubt and things came from. When he was sober, he was a great person and I loved being around him. But when he was drunk, I tried to avoid him like the plague. And it's funny that I became an addict later in life because I would often find myself thinking, wow, I am the person that I didn't want to be around. My mom, on the other hand, was very nurturing, very work-driven. She inspired a lot of the work ethic that I have today. You know, you work hard and you reap what you sow. I tended to isolate myself from social activities even as a young child, to the point where once I found drugs and criminal activity, that's where I found my identity. My addiction really started at the age of 17 when I started using methamphetamine intravenously. From the age of 17 until the age of 37, I didn't stop abusing drugs. I covered the gambit: cocaine, methamphetamine, heroin. I was one of those addicts. What do you have, and do you have more? In addiction, I did a lot of things that I'm not proud of. I've spent a lot of time in county jails, spent a lot of time running from my problems. I spent a lot of time running from the people who cared about me. I stole from people who were close to me. I stole from my grandma. I don't have shame for what I did today because I've made amends, but I'm not proud of what I did. I surrounded myself with people in recovery once I found recovery myself about 3 years ago. And they always had something that I desired. We shared a lot of the same principles, being service-driven, wanting to help others, building each other up. It's funny, my fiance and I often talk about a lot of the values that I have are Christian values that I didn't know until I was saved. But they had something that I was lacking, and I would often ask them what it was that inspired them so much, and they always told me that it was Jesus. I've always been an inquisitive person, and I like to do my research on things before I commit to something. And so I've dabbled in a lot of philosophical views and religious views as far as research goes. So I was never one to say that there wasn't something else out there that was driving me, but I just never identified what it was until the people around me really opened my eyes to the awesomeness that is Jesus. It was one Sunday morning. The sermon was pretty inspiring, but I can't really remember anything really pertinent that sticks out to this day. What I do remember is Adam standing up at the end of the service, doing the altar call, asking if I wanted to give my life over to Jesus. And without even thinking about it, my hand just shot up. It was something driving me, saying, hey, you need to draw closer to me. I haven't looked back since then. I know today that all the trials and tribulations of my life, running from the police, coming back from drug overdoses, was Jesus saving me. I used to often identify that as just happenstance. It was a chance. It was just a coincidence. But I know today that it was Jesus saving me, and I'm forever grateful for that. I try to return the mercy and grace that he's given to me and my faithfulness to him. I have an opportunity today to share my story with people and inspire them, and that's what I try to do. In my prayer life, I feel like I'm talking to a good friend. He guides me through things that I never thought I would be able to accomplish, and it's not me accomplishing them, it's him through me that is accomplished. A while back, when I got the opportunity to go on the men's retreat with the men here of Reach KC, at the end of the retreat, the preacher was standing up front and he said, "If you feel like your calling is to minister to men, raise your hand." I raised my hand and he said, "Okay, now when you get back to your home church, talk to your pastor and tell them that you will obediently follow in whatever it is that they want you to do in order to reach your calling." So we got back, and I never really had that conversation with Adam, but somehow God's will said, okay, this is what you're going to do. And just in conversation, I was sharing my experience in recovery homes with Adam. He was sharing his desire to open up some recovery homes. And so a lot of the responsibilities that are being set out to me right now, I've already had to deal with, and I've worked through my character defects, handing them over to God and just asking him to remove them from me. And most days they're not there. And it's not until I try to take the wheel back and I try to take my will back that they start to rear their ugly faces. So just working in his will, I don't have a whole lot of fear of what's going to happen in this ministry that Reach is launching with the Reach homes. In fact, I'm super excited about it. It's going to give me an opportunity to grow closer to God. I would have never thought that I would be at the point that I'm at today. Prior to getting saved, I never had a desire to enter into the institution of marriage. It was always just that to me. It was an institution. It was something that the government had created. But, like it says, that God will change the desires of your heart. And he absolutely did that. In April, I'm going to be married to my best friend. And there have been a lot of battles that we thought we were going to have to overcome alone, as far as how to pay for a wedding, how to get food for a wedding, how to get a venue for a wedding. But the Lord has provided. We have remained obedient to him and what he's asked of us as people who are engaged and not yet married. And it has showed. Some friends of ours have showed up and said that they're going to provide the food. Reach KC has said that they are going to provide the venue. Another friend has allowed us the opportunity to use a gymnasium for our reception. And it's just so amazing that us being obedient, God is providing for us. Here we are today. It's one of the many blessings that I've recently experienced in life. Today, I would just press so hard for the past me to identify who Jesus is and what he's done in my life up to that point. And I don't think I could even begin to explain to the past me just the abundance of blessings that he's going to provide for me in the future. Once I tapped into him and said, okay, God, I'm not in charge, you are. I'm forever grateful for the joy that he brings into my life. My goal today is to be able to share that joy and just hope that anybody that I come in contact with receive just a little bit of what I've experienced. I know now today what it is to live with Jesus in my heart, and I will never turn my back on him again.